Happy Friday, ladies and gentlemen, Allincrypto here, and welcome back, guys, for what is going to be nothing short of another jam-packed daily market update. As you can imagine, we've got a hell of a lot to get into, as always, and if you are new around here, make sure you check out that subscribe button because we drop one of these updates every single day around 1 p.m. UK time to help you guys stay up to date with the latest and greatest things happening in the crypto space, but also the broader markets. And actually, in this one, we are going to be looking at the broader markets. We're going to be talking about some macro concepts on the back end of the big, beautiful bill that, of course, passed yesterday. And we're going to be looking at it through the lens of what Ray Dalio has to say on it, one of the greatest sort of macro investors of all time, the guy, in fact, who is the reason we have the chicken nugget from McDonald's. And the story behind that is they couldn't fix grain prices, which means they couldn't fix chicken prices, which means that McDonald's couldn't feasibly actually offer the chicken nugget. And he came up with sort of figuring that out with futures and derivatives. Anyway, he has a great take on this as it relates to the monetary system, which is why Bitcoin and the broader crypto industry was given to us. And we're going to look at that because nothing stops this train, as Lynn Alden would say. And that is the train of continued proliferation. This is a game of impoverishment. And why I'm such an advocate for the cryptocurrency space, or got into crypto initially, but more broadly investing, is because the fiat systems are designed to control and restrain you. It's like trying to climb up a greased pole, and actually what you want to do is essentially put sand on your hands and feet when you're trying to get up that ladder or that pole, if you will. And you can do that through using the money system, which inflates assets rather than diminishing against it if you're living month to month or if you're without assets. This is why houses have actually saved most people's sort of financial lives, because they've kind of gone up. Although, when you take a mortgage out, oftentimes you're paying nearly double, depending on how you do it for the house. Anyway, we don't want to get into that arena. So we are going to be starting off there. We'll actually be starting off, I should say, with the sort of non-farm payroll report yesterday. It came out as a beat once again. We'll relate this to the Dixie. We'll simplify things. We're also going to talk about the July 14th will be Crypto Week with the Clarity Act, Anti-CBDC Surveillance State Act, and the Genius Act will be considered. Anti-CBDC, so you're not going to get CBDC in the US, but they think you're stupid. It's the same thing, stablecoins. It's totally surveillable. Everything's on-chain. This transparency, well, it just means it's all open. And of course, you can mitigate this with ZKs and privacy chains and things like this. But we will be looking at that sort of week. So without further ado, we've got a lot to get into, guys. Let's kick things off. Yesterday, we had a number of things. One, most importantly, that I like to look at is employment data. So you had a decrease in unemployment. Now, anybody that doesn't know the correlation is unemployment rises, typically S&P goes down. And that's because unemployment is kind of a barometer for economic activity. Obviously, the S&P 500 is the largest 500 companies in the world, or in certainly the United States, probably the world also, or at least some of them. It's going to be interesting because some of the old economic models, and you see this throughout history, don't account for technological shifts, like the replacement of workers with AI. We did see that with the agricultural revolution, and of course, it wasn't kind of the end of the world. It was something far more than that, because it meant we could sort of move on to, different things. And I wonder if that unemployment stat and sort of market correlation continues to go. Unemployment upticks, markets go down, because I do see a world where actually there's going to be a lot of people that are unemployed because you just simply don't need these human beings anymore to do these jobs that robots and things take over. I think we're a while away from that, but it will come. So unemployment fell. Great barometer for the economy. Remember, we've been far more bullish on Trump's America than most people have, and we've taken so much flack for it. But guess what? We've been looking at upside for the S&P 500 and the markets more broadly since going into 2023. This is our sort of phase one accumulative phase. And we've been spot on, and we said it's going to continue. And actually the markets and people, as far as sentiment's concerned, have got Trump's America wrong, and we think it's far more bullish than bearish. Of course, we could have been wrong on that. So far, we've been proven right, certainly with a new high. You also had non-farm unemployment changes. This came out at 147,000. The expectations were 111,000. So a beat there once again, but generally good economic data, and no signs of any breaking or slowing down just yet. And we spoke about the S&P 500, and we did say, okay, we're worried that this has broken its trend. The only way it fixes is if it goes on and puts a new high, and that's going to lead to continuation. That's what we've got, and we've seen that continuation thus far. And the sort of crypto element here, if I go over to my watch list and try and find it very quickly, is of course Bitcoin divided by the S&P. So if we're expecting the S&P on merit that it's broken into a new high and it's putting in new highs, and that trend is likely going to continue, that means the S&P is going to go up. Well, Bitcoin's going to go up against the S&P, which means crypto is going to do very well. And of course, just yesterday, we kind of recapped on our broader macro technical targets, weekly targets that we have for Bitcoin, but also the kind of bull flag that is setting up and ultimately, I believe, going to lead to continuation. Likely a run to around about 136, which is going to align with, of course, more broadly where we have bigger targets. So I'm very confident in the direction Bitcoin's going, and I think it's going to be a pretty spectacular end to 2026. I think you're going to get a lot of clarity on things. We've got the Clarity Act coming in. I know we got a little bit of pushback for saying that Grayscale Large Cap Fund had been approved. I don't know why people thought we were making that up. It has been given a letter by the SEC of approval. The only thing that they've said is you need to wait until we say you can go forward. So it has been approved, but they're saying you've got to wait for the conversion to take place, likely due to a lack of sort of more broad regulatory framework, which is coming. So it was approved. I don't know where the wires were crossed there. I think, again, there's a lot of people I think are very disappointed in the crypto space thus far. I'm personally very happy with where we're sat because I believe I know where we're going. But just, it was approved just because they've sort of put almost cease and desist on it in terms of actually going ahead and doing it. That's a pause. They have actually approved officially the conversion of Grayscale Digital Large Cap Fund into an ETF, just to clarify that. Obviously, yesterday, this is from David Sachs, congratulations to President Trump, the White House, and Senate leadership and the White House staff for passing one big, beautiful bill. Historic victories on broader security, tax cuts, welfare reform, and deregulation. And I think this is generally going to be good for markets. And then he's going to talk about the crypto week ahead. But within that big, beautiful bill, and this is a great take from Ray Dalio, he says now that the budget bill has passed Congress, we can see the projections look like for the deficit, what the projections look like for the deficit, government debt and debt service expenses. In brief, the bill is expected to lead to spending of about $7 trillion a year with inflows of about $5 trillion a year. So the debt, which is now about 6x the money taken in, 100% of GDP, and about $230,000 per American family, will rise over 10 years to about 7.5x the money taken in, and 130% of GDP, and $425,000 per family. That will increase interest and principal payments on the debt from 10 trillion, 1 trillion in interest, 9 trillion in principal, to about 18 trillion, of which 2 trillion is in interest payments. The US already spend more on servicing the debt that they have than military, which is crazy. And this is a designed system, I believe. Anyway, which will lead to even bigger squeezing out and cutting off of spending and or unimaginable tax increases, or a lot of printing and devaluing money and pushing interest rates to unattractive levels. The printing and devaluing is not good for those holding bonds as a storehold of wealth. And what's bad for bonds and US credit markets is bad for everyone, because the US Treasury market is the backbone of all capital markets. It is indeed, which is why we pay attention to it, which are the backbone of our economic and social conditions. Unless this path is soon rectified to bring the budget deficit from roughly 7% of GDP to about 3% by making adjustments to spending, taxes, and interest payments, big, painful disruptions will occur. And I absolutely agree with him on this. Grok was asked to simplify this. It said, imagine the government is like a big family that spends way more money than it earns. $7 for every $5 it gets. So it borrows a ton, and now each family owes $230,000. So it will be $425,000 to fix it. They might cut fun things, raise allowance, taxes, or print more money, making the dollar worth less. If not fixed, it hurts everyone's saving and makes life tough. If you don't understand the game, it's very interesting and almost ironic being in this situation that I am, because I almost want them to print money. It's going to hurt most people, but only people that don't understand the great game. And that is what, there's that great picture of Warren Buffett laughing with all the politicians and the bankers. It's because they knew the game. You know? They just proliferate. Nothing stops this train, as all of them were saying. We got confirmation of that with the big, beautiful bill. And ultimately, that's just going to lead to asset prices rising. And it's very coincidental how much BlackRock pivoted into Bitcoin for this exact reason. And it just continues. Maybe this is why Elon and kind of Trump fell out. And ultimately, this is going to put strain on the dollar, which they want to lower for economic growth. This was Trump's playbook previously, which we spoke about. Remember, we've been expecting the dollar to come down to this lower band of this channel for years now, and it has. And it may spill entirely out of it. And I actually have more confirmation on that with the GBP USD, Euro USD, and Japanese Yen USD that I think are going to do some serious upside moves against the Dixie. Whether we look to trade and arbitrage that is still to be seen. The second half of what David Sachs is saying is Crypto Week in the House, July 14th. Genius Act stablecoin is heading to President Trump's desk. It's going to be signed. Clarity Act market structure is heading to the Senate. Amazing progress in 6 months with more victories to come. I think actually generally it has been. In my own opinion, some will argue that I'm not an American, so I can't comment. I would argue that saying that is very similar to asking the heart surgeon that's about to perform on you if he has also had those heart problems that he's about to perform, and if he says no, you're saying, okay, well, you can't operate. That's a Milton Friedman. So this is from the Financial Service Committee. New chairman, French Hill, and chairman, Congressman GT, and House leadership announced that the week of July 14th will be Crypto Week, where the Clarity Act, Anti-CBDC Surveillance Act, and Genius Act will be considered. This is their report on this. We're taking historic steps to ensure the United States remains the world's leader in innovation, and I look forward to Crypto Week in the House. After years of dedicated work in Congress and digital assets, we are advancing landmark legislation to establish clear regulatory framework for digital assets that safeguard customers or consumers and investors, provides rules and issuances and operations of dollar-backed payment stablecoins, and permanently blocks the creation of central bank digital currencies to safeguard Americans' financial privacy. Man. They think people are stupid. And, said Chairman Hill, I thank my colleagues in Congress and the Trump administration for their partnerships and leadership, and stand ready to work alongside the Senate as they work to advance standalone market structure legislation by the end of September. And remember, that was the kind of guidance that was given to us in regards to timeline. As it relates to the cryptocurrency space, big macro overview, you need to be in assets, guys. There's a reason gold and silver's about to do what it's going to do. We've been looking at silver miners and things like that. Also, get into a community. So I have a community. I'm not saying join mine. There's a link in the description. It's a Patreon. But we're all working towards the same endeavor, and that's arbitraging this world and making the most out of it to alleviate some of the pressures that are there with all our lives. Money doesn't buy you happiness. It doesn't equal happiness. And I know that firsthand. But it does make life a hell of a lot easier. And it does provide, you want to look at money in this game as a route to freedom. The situation I'm in, and it's thanks entirely to the cryptocurrency market, I don't need to be in the UK if I don't want to be. I could be anywhere in the world. I can really do whatever I want at this point. And that's thanks to investing directly. And that just doesn't benefit me. That benefits my family. I'm a big family sort of guy, and so on and so forth. And everybody can take those steps. I did it at a young age, got interested. We've got people, even 60, 70 that are sort of taking advantage of all of this. So that's really it from me. As it relates to crypto, you all know the score. Macro, we've got this very right. On the smaller time frames, the last thing we looked at was a falling wedge. I think there's still loads of falling wedges to play out for the altcoin sector, for Bitcoin, for the total market caps, whatever it may be. This is likely just going to be a bull flag that leads to continuation. Ladies and gents, on that note, I'm going to love and leave you. It's always an absolute pleasure. Massive thank you to those of you liking, commenting, and subscribing. It means the world to me. It's why we do it. And I'll see you all in the next one. Thanks for watching, guys. See you soon.